and welcome to another episode of the podcast, The Alchemy of Us, alongside the beautiful Tabitha Harris. I am Osric Baum, and we are your hosts as we take you on a journey of spirituality, relationships, life in general, and everything under the sun. Ms. Harris, how are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's been a day, but I'm doing good. How are you?
All right. I am the same. It has been a week, but
Hmm.
I am excited about today's topic,
Hmm.
which is spiritual awareness. And I know when you presented that topic, I had to think about what mine was. But before we even get into that, I'm going to pass it to you because, one, what is your definition of spiritual awareness? And then, hey, take it from there.
Well, with being spiritually aware, you kind of get into a shift where you just know who you are as an individual. But honestly, to become aware or self aware,
Hmm.
it goes through stages of you awakening. You have to go through a journey first to a lot of times to get to where you are, where you understand who you are.
Hmm.
And so, it takes time, it takes refinement. It's not something that you just one day just sometimes just get.
Right.
Honestly, sometimes some people it takes stages to get there.
Okay.
So what's your definition of it?
So it would be uh, the same where you either get a deeper, you have an epiphany that there's a deeper connection within yourself or within others or within nature
Mhm.
or the universe as itself. Uh, Another side of it is that you question what society has said is the norm, and
Mhm.
I think for me that is where it started. Was that at a
Mhm.
very young age, and I'm going to say when I was a teenager, I
Mhm.
questioned I questioned what I was learning in church because it didn't make sense, and then
Mhm.
coupled with my my not spiritual, with my awakening of my blackness.
Mhm.
So we're going to start there because we're talking about I was like 13.
Mhm.
I was 13, so that was when I first read Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Mhm.
Read that several times,
Mhm.
and so that began my transformation along with what I was
Okay.
already questioning. And then
Mhm.
after reading Malcolm X, I just became more aware. Uh, and
Okay,
and
got
then the awakening would come a few years later.
you. Mhm.
So,
So
how did
for
your awakening start?
I was going to say, okay, got you. See, my awakening came off of pain. See, a
Okay.
lot of people's awakening comes off of pain. How mine started was from betrayal. And what
Okay.
I mean by betrayal is I was married for 18 years. So when my husband committed infidelity, that that woke me up.
Okay.
Literally for me, it was two betrayals. It was not just the betrayal of him, but also I had a work friend who for
Mm.
some odd reason, I still don't know the reason behind the betrayal from that person.
Mm-hmm.
But those two things really honestly woke me up. But it was really the first piece of that was my ex-husband. And what's interesting is like I tell people, it felt like first of all, I had no idea I had been in anger for a long time, or like in like a whole nother world, because it literally felt like someone turned on the lights for the first time.
Mm.
That's what it felt like. And I was saying to myself, why have I been so angry?
Okay.
And why do I feel this way? And at that point in time in my life too, I was in that Jehovah's Witness religion. I was born into that religion.
Okay.
And even from a very young child, I used to question in my mind about that religion a lot. Like, why
Mm-hmm.
why would God want to destroy people who are not Jehovah's Witnesses, or people who are just good people who just don't serve him? Why would
Mm-hmm.
God want to do that? So I questioned that even from a young child. But anyway, with my awakening, and from being that it came from pain, I instantly said from that point that I wanted to figure out myself as to why I was in anger, but also I sought out a therapist at that time to help me to unpack things that I felt that I was suppressing, a lot of things even from childhood trauma,
Okay.
because that's a lot of things that people don't realize too, that also comes up through your journey,
Mm-hmm.
is things from your past. And I think that a lot of people in humanity today are suppressing a lot of things from their childhood. We go around here with smiles, we work ourselves to death, and then something catastrophic comes into your life, and then that kind of like shifts you in a way to move you to become self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
So it was because of that that started to become self-aware about, okay, do I want to live my life like this, in
Right.
anger?
Right.
And why was I angry so long? And why am I staying in a relationship that just is not fulfilling for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I have put up with a lot with too. You start to question that. Why am I friends with people who were my friends, who don't reciprocate? So you go through those things of unpacking things because it's necessary.
Right.
It really truly is a necessity. But I'm grateful that I did go through that, because like I said, it literally felt like somebody just, you know how somebody will open the blinds?
Mm-hmm.
Remember those
Right.
old blinds back in the day that you could just literally like, and then it goes up? That's what it felt like to me. I was like, ooh,
Mm. Okay.
why am I so angry? It felt just, no lie. And I could still, to this very day, I feel I could see that moment of when that happened to me.
Okay.
Because I was in my car and I was like, why am I so angry? Why have I been angry for this long? And I'm like, I really got to do something to help myself. So that's when I saw, like I told you, I started seeing a therapist. And that therapist did help me because she asked me questions. And that's what's good about any type of a therapist, a counselor, a coach. They always are going to give you nuggets of questions that help you to dig deeper in you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we all need to do. We all need to dig deep. So I was able to start really sitting with myself and start to um, think about my future, my belief system in God, because I've always believed in God, but I just don't believe in a lot of these organized religion.
Okay.
And as I went through, start to go through my own journey, I had to also start thinking about my relationships with people.
Mm.
How would
Okay.
those relationships be impacted, because being that I was in a religion where they believed in, if you, because I was baptized in that religion too.
Right.
And so if you leave that religion, you basically get shunned, or your family don't really want to bother with you like that because you're not in that faith.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I had to think about that too, losing people. And that was a scary thing for me. because I grew up in like kind of like sort of like a close knit family, but we as we got older we started to grow apart. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to think about those things, and those were decisions I was going to have to make, that I would have to be okay with not being in connection with my family like that any longer.
Okay. And
Yeah, it was interesting.
so, why were you so angry?
I think for many years the reason why I was angry was because I was in a relationship that just was unevenly yoked. It really was.
Okay.
I always felt like I was the mother. I was a wife. I was a mother. I always had to be the voice of reason all the time. I had
Okay.
to always be pushing and prodding. And I felt like I had I felt like a wife that was really like a single mom.
Okay.
Even though I had a husband that was, I felt like that because I always had to be the voice. I'm like, I don't want to be the voice of reason. I want a man to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to have to be the one that has to always get you to climb down off that bridge and that tree. No, it should be balanced there in any relationship. And it was unbalanced.
Mm.
And, coming from such a young age to where, that was my second marriage, but the longest I had been married for 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think another thing that kept me there too was also religion. I'm like, okay, well, he didn't cheat. Yeah, okay. We went through the substance and alcohol abuse thing, and we got through that.
Mm-hmm.
But then when that came back, I was just like, no. Mm-mm. When infidelity came, I was like, oh no, because you got to make a decision at that point.
Right.
But also, because that happened to me, and because I'm such a caring person, I now understand why it hurts so much.
Okay.
Because I genuinely do just love people. And when you really love someone and you care about them in that way, even though he
Mm-hmm.
used to get on my nerves, I still cared.
Mm-hmm.
It hurt like hell. So it took me some time to get through that, but I also had to get to a space where I knew I deserved better than that.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
sometimes people stay and repair it because I had to think about that. Am I willing to repair this?
Mm-hmm.
Am I willing to be in a space where I got to question, can I trust you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So for me personally, when once that type of trust is broken, oh, that's a no for me. Mm-mm.
Okay.
It's a no. And I respect people that can rebuild off that, but me, it was a no.
It was a no. That's a
It
hard
was a
pass.
definite no.
Hard pass.
It was a hard pass. It was absolutely not.
Okay.
And so with that, I'm through that journey, right, of unpacking of starting to unpack myself. I was searching for a deeper relationship with God.
Okay.
And so through my girlfriends that I worked with, especially one of my girlfriends, Cheryl, she had introduced me to uh Esther Hicks, who, she channels Abraham Hicks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I started listening to her videos and reading her books and listening to audiobooks about the law of attraction,
Mm-hmm.
for some odd reason, it just really clicked and it sunk into me. And so I started also to, do research on my natal chart. I started to get into astrology because I was trying to understand why I was indecisive,
Mm-hmm.
why I'm so sensitive,
Mm-hmm.
uh, why I do a lot of the things that I do. And through digging through that, and I said, oh, these are traits of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I do a lot of these things because people don't realize there are traits in the zodiac charts, which I don't care what nobody say,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't care how people try to demonize astrology. Is the first science.
It
period.
is. It is.
Yes, we have grown to learn other things, but that is science and it absolutely is true. Because why? They still science still uses a lot of that stuff.
Right.
They do. It's just they do it in math, in the form of mathematics.
Mm-hmm. You know,
But yeah, I'm grateful that I went to that. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
well, I was just going to say that a lot, well, not a lot, everything that we learn and understand is based off
Mm-hmm.
of what is around us, what is physically around us, what physically is happening. So, going
Exactly.
back thousands of years ago, when if you
Mm-hmm.
have, if anyone has done any type of research on astrology or just, yeah, oh, yeah, astrology and on simple things, how did our ancestors know when the seasons were changing? Well, they knew that based off of
Exactly.
the sun, the moon,
And
the rotation of the
stars, the
earth.
planets.
Exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
they understood or were taught that, and so but it is true. Now, I was watching a video that was very interesting. Um, I believe
Mm-hmm.
the person's name is William Donahue, and he was going
Mm-hmm.
through the symbolism of Jesus, of Christ. Okay, of Christ. Now,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
you had mentioned to me about September being or fall being the beginning of the season, right? I think you told me that.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
fall like the
Yep,
beginning
that's what
of
I
the
heard.
year. Okay. Well, that's what he was actually saying.
Mm-hmm. It's to be. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
And
if you think about it logically, things start to die away after August. And then what do we start doing? We start preparing for spring coming up the next year, which is
hmm
in April.
and then so that's the first part. Okay, so the first part is um, the virgin birth, which would have been
Mm-hmm.
through ISIS. Okay, so I don't want to get too deep in it, but we're going to go to Christmas and that's whole symbolism
Mm-hmm.
where the sun, the physical sun, on December,
Mm-hmm.
is it 21st? Is that when it goes into when it
The
dies?
solstice?
Because that's when it dies, right?
Yeah, something like that.
And
Mm-hmm.
then the next three
The lunar
days,
solstice.
the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, is when it's in those 3 days when it's in that period before it makes its transition. And then on the 25th, it is reborn, right? Now
Mm-hmm.
that's what actually happens to the sun that provides us life, or at least that's what we think it does, that we see. That's the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Yet
Mm-hmm.
that story is translated into Jesus Christ, who is the poster boy for Christianity, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yet that story that I just said that actually happens to the physical sun, is that not what happened? Is that not what they say happened to Jesus when he was crucified, was dead for 3 days, and then he rose again, right?
That's what they say.
That's what they said. But I just told you what the sun goes through,
Mm-hmm.
which is the same thing. So
Mm-hmm. Transformation.
so for me, when we talk about spiritual awakening, then
Mm-hmm.
it becomes, is that what we have been made aware of, but instead of just saying, hey, you're a spiritual being, they have written
Mm-hmm.
everything in parables or
Mm-hmm.
metaphors or analogies,
Mm-hmm.
so that you have to actually not take it for what it is, but you have to look at the deeper meaning or the symbolism in it. Now that's what I think. What do you think about that?
Oh, there's definitely a lot of parables and symbolisms in in the Bible, but you unfortunately have to know how to unpack that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you definitely, like I said, and that takes time, sometimes time and wisdom, and each one of us are on our own path. So people are going to get different things from it. You know, a lot of people take the Bible as something very literal when a lot of it is not what they think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like I tell people, I'm like, I believe it is a good tool to some degree, but I also believe that it's a book of dreams and predictions and like anything else. I do believe that to some degree. It does have some good principles in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
But is to me it's in my opinion, it's not a fact. It's not.
Right. Right.
And that's just
Or
my opinion.
I would say this because, and I understand why you would say that. I would say
Oh.
that
Mhm.
it, to me, it is factual, but not in the sense
Mhm.
of how it is written, of how it is written.
Mhm. Right.
And so everything that you read is based off of
Mhm.
something factual, but instead
Right.
of giving it to you on how it is, it's dressed up, and so we get
Mhm.
caught up in how it's dressed up. So for me, I'm going to go back to something that I think that I had said in an earlier episode, where
Mhm.
my spiritual awakening essentially comes down to, I recognized that I
Mhm.
was a spiritual being, and and then over the years I have been embracing that to where I have fully embraced it. So before I had that idea, but I didn't really
Mhm.
fully embrace it. But I now have
Right.
fully embraced the fact that I'm a spiritual being that is in
Mhm.
in a physical form,
Way.
and
Mhm.
because of that, then
Mhm.
anything is possible. Okay,
Got you.
my abilities
Mhm.
are limitless because I'm a spiritual being. I'm from the same consciousness. We all are. We all are connected. We're all the same consciousness. So the example that I would give is that it's like being Superman.
Mhm.
It's like Superman being Superman, but he dresses up as Clark Kent. Okay,
Mhm.
Superman is Superman, but he
Right.
dresses up as Clark Kent
Mhm.
so that he can walk among everyone else and not and still be able to experience
Mhm.
life in a more human form, even though he is Superman. He's an alien. Versus Batman,
Got you.
who is Bruce Wayne dressing up as Batman. Okay, and I
Mhm.
think, and so I believe that is how we as people operate. We operate as Bruce Wayne dressing up as Batman, which means that we are a physical being, and we know we have a spirit in us, but we are limited based on our physical limitations. And I think that is a huge
Okay.
mindset switch, because if you think you're a physical being, If that's how you base your life off of, is that you're a physical being, you have a spirit in you, then you have limits
Mhm.
to what you are able to do. Versus if you recognize that you are a spiritual being in physical form, now
Mhm.
that changes it because as a spiritual being, thought is all that
There
it
are no
is.
limits.
Exactly. There are no limits. There are no limits. And
Mhm.
so that
Mhm.
that mindset and that thought process is a huge
Mhm.
swing from one of I have
Mhm.
limits to I am unlimited or I am limitless.
Mhm. I'll tell. Let me go back to this too about awakening and the journey too, because
Mm-hmm.
I want people to understand something. When you go through your awakening journey, you're definitely going to go through some stages. It's not going to be an easy ride. I'll tell you that much. It was not a cakewalk for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. It was like I said, it was very painful. I remember I went through a period of where I was literally like purging. And what I
Mm.
mean by purging, it was like crying every day. I mean, crying, literally. And I'm like, and I was telling my girlfriends who we're part of a sisterhood, a
Mm-hmm.
spiritual sisterhood.
Okay.
We get together and we do certain things together. And so I'm telling them, I'm like, every night I'm crying like all night long. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, it is. I said, I'm so tired of crying. And my girlfriend Monique, she was like, Tab, you're purging. I was like, I'm sick of crying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of it. But every night I went through a crying thing. But I went through those stages. I went through stages of where there was foods I couldn't eat any longer, and my body still does that. People need to understand as you're releasing, because you have to release these things.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I want people to understand is your emotions are for a reason. You're supposed to feel. That's number one. You're supposed to feel, and a lot of us has suppressed things from our childhood. We have packed things down. We have put things in the back of our mind like that's normal. I don't give a damn what this world say. You're supposed to feel.
Mm-hmm.
Men and women are supposed to feel what you feel, and you have to acknowledge it. And by acknowledging it, but then you don't have to stay there, and you start doing the work of releasing those things that have kept in that you have kept inside you for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And as you release those things, you start to get lighter. Your body chemistry, everything is going to start to change about you. Your features are going to change, your eating habits are going to change. I'm telling you, the way I was 5 years ago, I'm totally different now.
Mm.
It's like I felt like as I went through those stages of, number one, I went through a year, and I don't know how I did this, almost a year and a half
Okay.
of not sleeping most nights. I
Mm.
think I was living off of no more than about 3 to 4 hours of sleep. I don't know how I did it and got back up to work. I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
Wow. Okay.
I did it. I would sleep maybe 3 hours and then go to work, come home and couldn't sleep. You go through those. You're going through not just purging and releasing and releasing things that you had in your life for many years,
Mm-hmm.
but your body is also being renewed too, so it has to reset. So you're going to go through intervals of you can't sleep, you can't your body chemistry is going to sometimes be off with your sleep.
Mm-hmm.
um you probably will go through issues with food, because I went through issues with food and I still go through that now. That's
Mm-hmm.
how I know that I'm still going through awakenings, because why, I'm moving towards enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people think they're enlightened. You're not. Not yet.
Mm.
We go through various stages till we get to a higher level of consciousness as well as enlightenment. But it takes time, and stop trying to rush yourself through those things.
Mm-hmm.
Allow. the process to be what it is. And there are times when you're going to have to surrender to it because we tend to fight things a lot. We tend to fight ourselves, like trying to keep it in. Oh, I remember I used to do that sometimes. Like, oh, I ain't gonna be crying out here. I ain't gonna be doing none of that. No, I, I learned to just let it go and let it flow.
Okay.
Because when you let it go and you let it flow, you're able to move forward. But not just that. Like I also tell people that I talk to as well is that when you're feeling your emotions, whether it's anger or sadness, whatever it is you're feeling, acknowledge it. Acknowledge that, yeah, I'm angry, and you get to the reason as to why.
Mm-hmm.
And once you acknowledge that, you don't have to stay there. You can move forward knowing that, okay, yep, okay, this happened.
Mm-hmm.
This happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? This is the greater lesson in it. And I will never let anyone else do that to me again. You have to acknowledge that. So you then also have to create boundaries for yourself as well.
Okay.
And that's another thing. You have to create boundaries for not just yourself, but for other people. Because as you're going through your stages of knowing the things that may have happened to you
Mm-hmm.
in your past, you have to set the boundary and the control of where you won't let people play with you or toy with you in that fashion. Because why? You know better. So what do? You do better.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what you're worth. So you don't allow people to treat you in any kind of way.
Right.
And there's something else I want to address too in this about awakening.
Okay.
I know that sometimes when we get to these stages of awakenings, we also go through sometimes some mental things as well,
Mm-hmm.
big time. Some people go through psychosis, which really you gotta really work on that
Mm-hmm.
if you start going through things that you really trip it, because sometimes when you're going through those awakening, it will make you think that there's something wrong with you.
Okay. Okay.
Because I've been through that too, where I'm like, what is wrong with me? But you have to keep working through those things. But what I did in times where I felt like I was losing myself,
Mm-hmm.
I would go into nature,
Mm.
whether it was putting my feet out on the in the grass,
Mm-hmm.
sitting in the sun. Y'all need the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Get your behinds out in the sun, because the sun, it does something to you. Every time you sit out in that sun, I'm telling you, it recharges you. It makes you feel good. Your feet being grounded into the earth
Mm-hmm.
will help you because you're connecting back to the earth. And you need to do that. And another thing, too, about the journey. I know sometimes when folks are in their journey, you start to pick up bad habits.
Okay.
And some of those bad habits can be drinking, smoking,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes illicit drugs. Some of y'all get on illicit drugs. Some like attention in the wrong way, whether it's sexual attention, just attention in any type of good or bad. You
Mm-hmm.
like it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. One of the things people got to realize is, I know sometimes we pick up habits, because I know when I first went through my stuff with my awakening, and then having to deal with the pain from uh uh being cheated on. Let me tell you
Mm-hmm.
something. I ain't gonna lie. I remember I was drinking whole bottles of wine so that I didn't have. I'm like, I thought I was losing my mind because I was hurting so much. I'm like, no, I want to go to sleep. After I got off work, I would
Mm-hmm.
hit the doggone grocery store, have me a bottle of Moscato, drink that bottle of Moscato, and be knocked out all night.
Mm.
And
So.
I realized I couldn't function like that.
Mm-hmm.
I could not function like that, because I'm like, I need to get some help. So I remember I went to my doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and I was telling my doctor, I said, listen, I said, I am losing my mind. I said, and I shared with him, because my doctor and I have that type of relationship, Dr. Patel. And I told him, I said, Dr. Patel, I said, I shared with him, and I'll never forget, I was boo-hoo crying in his office. And he told me, he said, Tabitha, you're a great woman. He said, and you didn't deserve what was served to you. And I told him how I was having problems concentrating at work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'm losing it. I said, sometimes I'll go outside at the job and I'm crying in the parking lot. And I'm like, I can't even focus on doing my job. I said, I need to be able to make a living and still, deal with this. And so he asked me, he said, are you in therapy? I said, yes, I'm in therapy, but still,
Mm-hmm.
I can't focus. And so I'll never forget, he put me on a little small dose of a pill that would help me to focus. It was called what, Lexapro. So it was like
Okay.
no more than like 5-10 milligrams.
Okay.
And so once I got on that helped me. But I still was a little bit delving in a little bit of drinking. I ain't
Mm-hmm.
gonna lie about that. That I did do.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a habit. And people don't realize when you're doing things, you sometimes start another habit.
Mm-hmm.
And so through time, I had to eventually wean myself off of alcohol because a lot of folks do it. We don't want to feel certain things, and that's a real thing. We go through things, we don't want to feel things. So what do? We pick up something that helps us to suppress whatever it is we're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But over time, I weaned myself off of alcohol like that, and I was on that Lexapro, which helped me to be able to function and to be able to do my job
Mm-hmm.
so that I could make a living. But I'll tell you this much. I'll say this much. I would suggest for anyone who's going through something,
Mm-hmm.
instead of picking up like wine or some type of weed or cigarettes and all of that, see a therapist, continue to see a therapist if you're seeing one,
Mm-hmm.
and find healthier things to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel like you cannot focus, it's okay to go see your doctor, excuse me, and ask them for help with some type of a medication. Because I was on something for at least, what, 2 years, until I finally knew I was in a space where I didn't need that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we weaned me off of it
Okay.
and been off of it for years now. But it's okay for you to know that it's okay sometimes to use, whether it's an antidepressant, whatever medication they can give you to help you, there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Because I know some people feel ashamed, like, I don't want to get on nobody's medicine and this, that. Sometimes you need the help.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to get the help. But you don't have to stay on that forever. You don't.
Okay. Right. And I understand exactly what you're saying. You know, as you were talking, it just made me start thinking, and uh, I'll kind of
Mm-hmm.
expound on the thought right now. So when we talk about trauma, because what our spiritual awakening individually is is somewhat different. So when we're talking about trauma,
Mm-hmm.
is it
Mm-hmm.
is it necessary to work through the trauma, or can you can you acknowledge the trauma and just go around the trauma?
Mm-hmm. Well, in some situations, you do have to recognize what it is. Like for me, honestly, I was introduced to trauma at like 6 months of age.
Okay.
That my first memory, believe it or not, was when I was 6 months and I was sitting on a couch
Mm-hmm.
with my mother, and my biological father at the time was screaming and calling my mother's name.
Mm.
And she opened the door and he was holding onto the sides of the door,
Mm-hmm.
and the police was beating my father and
Mm.
blood was coming out of his mouth. I saw that. And I could hear to this very day, every time I shut my eyes, I could hear him screaming my mother's name.
Mm-hmm.
That's how ingrained it is in my head. And I could still see his face and the blood coming out of his mouth and the police beating him.
Mm.
So we get certain things imprinted upon us, which that's trauma. And I believe that's what actually triggered in me to be someone who's highly sensitive.
Okay.
Because I've always been very sensitive since I was a very young kid
Mm-hmm.
and could really feel emotions and all of that too.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe those things really heightened what, I'm sure I was probably, even at 6 months, I don't know what's going on and I'm seeing this.
Right.
So
Right.
imagine what that did to me as a young baby,
Mm-hmm.
literally
Mm-hmm.
seeing that.
Wow. The fact that you
But
can
yeah, there
remember
are
it
some
is
things
great.
with I can. I remember that. And then I can remember at the age of 3, to this very day, I can still see myself sitting on a chair at my father's funeral. I remember that
Mm.
too.
Mm. Okay.
Just sitting on a chair. And I could see him in his casket. I said, there are certain things I do remember. My mother was like, at the 6 months thing, she was like, how you remember that? I said, that's trauma.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. It's imprinted and ingrained in me. I will forever remember that. It will never go away.
Right.
But
Okay.
yeah, so with some things in your life, you got to realize that there are some things that's going to stay with you forever, and you just learn how to deal with it. But also, it helps you to understand why sometimes you react in certain ways that you do.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand myself a lot because, like I say, I was introduced to trauma very young, and it helped me to just learn myself very young and very quickly as well.
Mm-hmm.
But over time, as you become an adult, you still have to grow. You still have to learn more things about yourself because we all go through things that we must learn about ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful each day that, I take the time to sit alone with myself a lot. And that's another thing that you're going to do a lot in your journey is you're going to sit alone. And I know a lot of people don't like to be alone a lot of times because sometimes people fear being alone.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, the stillness is sometimes needed because it helps you to become aligned and more into focus, and you'll get the answers that you need just by being alone. The distraction keeps you from honestly getting to know yourself more. But I'm grateful each day that I get to sit alone.
And you bring up you brought up a very good point that you do have to be
Hmm.
alone, and people don't want to be alone. So why do they not want to be
Let
alone?
me ask,
Go ahead.
and let me ask you a question though,
Mm-hmm.
right? So after I was married for a long time, and then having to be alone by myself in the beginning, that drove me almost literally nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Nuts, where sometimes I would have my daughter to sleep in the room with me, her and my granddaughter sometimes, because I'm like, oh no, I need somebody in here sometimes. So I would have them come and spend the night. We have spend the night sometimes in here.
Okay.
When you transition to being single, how did that how did you deal with that mentally? Did that bother you in any way? To have to be in a
No,
space alone, or no? You
no, it
don't
didn't.
mind that.
It didn't bother me because uh, uh, my
Hmm.
peace of mind was more valuable
Hmm.
than having to
Hmm.
deal with uh, the personal issues
Gotcha.
within that relationship. So no,
Hmm.
and I've always been one
I'm
that
so
can walk
grateful.
alone, and I've always and that's
Okay,
one thing that I've
gotcha.
always felt. I could be surrounded
Hmm.
by a lot of people and still
Hmm.
feel
Hmm.
alone. Like I can be in a room
Got you.
with people
Got you.
and still
Right.
feel
You
alone.
could. Right. Right. Got you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. I get it. That's kind of like with like I say with myself with quality time. I
Mm-hmm.
like quality time where I don't even got to speak to you, but we could be in the same room.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It works for me. I can do my own thing over here. You be over there. I'm good.
All right. But
I look
but
at it like
most
that.
people don't like that, and I was
Okay.
all, and when I expressed that to someone, they attempted to make me feel as if if there was something wrong with me, right?
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
and what I understood and was
Mm-hmm.
steadfast on was that I am who I am. I am who I am,
Mm-hmm.
and I have no problem being alone. Now,
Okay.
what is interesting is that I really never got into astrology and the traits
Mm-hmm.
of the signs. But what I have found, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
a Leo, is that that is one of the traits of a Leo. You know, that ability that we can be the life of the party, and at the same time, we are just fine being by ourselves.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of like how I am as a Libra. It's like we seclude and then we'll come out.
Mm-hmm.
But then was like, okay, enough of that. Every now and then I'll pop out because they'll be like, Chapter, where you been? Minding my business. Then all of a sudden I'm out.
Right.
You're like, oh, you coming out? Yeah, I guess so. It's what they call that, the intro extrovert kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I guess
Mostly
yeah.
introversion,
Mostly
introverted.
introvert. Right.
Yeah. So let me say this too, as far as with things that many people will need to do in their journey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things some of the tips I want to share with people is if you want to really get to know yourself more, definitely check out cafeastrology.com and look up your natal chart.
Mm.
All you need is your date of birth. You need the time you were born and where you were born. And you can look that up on your birth certificate, the long form. Every birth certificate has it. Look
Mm-hmm.
it up. I'm telling you, delve in it. I delve in my natal chart at least quarterly because I'm always finding nuggets that I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that folks can do is also start looking into your life path. Your life path numbers, numerology. I love numerology, finding out numbers and the significance because I'm sure people tend to, after they wake up, start paying attention to the various signs that come,
Mm-hmm.
especially numbers. People are, oh, I always see 1111 or 444 or I
Mm-hmm.
see 222, I see 711, I see that. Start digging in, learning what is the meaning and what are you thinking of when those numbers are coming, because it
Mm-hmm.
means something.
Mm-hmm.
It usually means something. Definitely start looking into those things. What do they mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a meaning to most things. Another thing, take the time to be out in nature more. We're supposed to be in the sun. We're supposed to, hey, become a tree hugger. Hug the trees, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Love on them trees, okay? It's okay to hug the trees, put your feet in the ground. Start doing that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things is that my favorite thing is because I'm an early riser.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm usually up most mornings by 4, 5 a.m. I'm usually sitting on my balcony and I like to gaze at the stars and talk to the creator. I
Mm-hmm.
do that. And it's funny, I would have shared something with y'all. One night I was out there, I'll never forget. It was a full moon. And the moon it was so pretty. And there was clouds like kind of maskily kind of covering the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking up at the moon, I'm talking, I'm like, oh my God. I was like, wow, you are so beautiful, so magical. Do you know, no lie, this happened to me, y'all. Them the doggone clouds started dissipating and moved back.
Mm.
And when they moved back, I could literally see the galaxy behind it. I was like, I had never seen anything like that before. I was like, oh my God, you really showing me who you are. I was like,
Mm,
thank you. I love the moon. And ladies, we follow the moon cycle. Why? Because we have monthlies.
mm-hmm.
We follow that. That's us. All day. We're the moon. Whether you want to believe it or not. Yes, we are. We follow that. Listen, you got to learn to find more things to help to enrich you. Try to find books that
Mm-hmm.
speaks to your soul.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many good authors out there that can really help you through your journey. Like I said, I've read books by Esther Hicks. I think her Law of Attraction book is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one another book that I definitely recommend is The Four Agreements. I
Okay.
love that book. The Four Agreements is so amazing. I remember on my journey very early on when I started reading it, I said, it makes sense. Yeah, don't take stuff personal.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always wonder, well, I'm like, why they got a problem with me? I ain't never do nothing to them. What's their problem?
Right.
Then I started to realize this ain't my problem. That's their issue.
Right.
So I don't learn to stop taking stuff personal when people come to you and they like, oh, are you mad at me? Or did I do something to you? I'm like, no, no, no. Check yourself first, because I don't even know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times it's people who's disrupted in their own soul, which has nothing to do with you. You have to learn that. The Four Agreements is a book you should definitely be reading. And if you need to do so, do it quarterly or twice a year or at least once a year, because
Mm-hmm.
it's a great book. It
Mm.
really is. But you must find more things to deepen your own spiritual path, because why? This is about you.
Right.
You no longer are following what anybody else does. This is your life, and you get to make the decision as to what you want to follow. I keep telling folks, listen, I am a spiritually eclectic person, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I take from different things and I make it mine. It's mine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't follow what anybody tell me, and you can't be afraid of what people are going to say. And along the way, you're going to lose people, and it's okay to lose people. Why? Because more will come.
Mm-hmm.
The people who resonate with you will come. So don't be afraid for those who are saying, "Oh, you're different." Yeah, it's okay to be different and evolve and grow. That means you outgrowing your circle. So more
Absolutely.
people will come that will vibrate with the frequency on, because you don't want to be doing the same low level behaviors that everybody else does. You want to rise.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Now,
okay to rise and be different.
I would
Mm-hmm.
say, although this is an older movie, because I saw this
Mm-hmm.
back in 2008. But The Secret that we had talked about, The Secret
Yes, The
is
Secret
a
is a
good
good movie.
movie. Good movie, good book to read. The
Mm-hmm.
movie is what introduced everybody to the law of manifestation. But it really goes deeper than that. But The Secret
Mm-hmm.
is a great start to awareness of what is possible for you individually when you recognize your power, when you start tapping into understanding that we're
Mm-hmm.
all about one consciousness.
Yes.
So to your point,
Yeah.
that that is a different thought process than what we have always been taught. It's a different thought process, and
Mm-hmm.
so you will lose people. You'll lose people whom you
Yes.
have known for years because all of you have been indoctrinated into the same philosophy, And now you're changing that philosophy for yourself, which in turn now makes you become different than to those who you have known.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to be,
Yeah.
you have to have that ability to
Strong.
be able to walk, exactly, be able to walk alone.
Mm-hmm. You got to be okay with that because it definitely will come. When people will, think that some of the things that you're doing, listen, in this society, anything that's not following, especially like Christianity, is demonized.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you worship rocks, and oh, astrology is works of the devil. No, nope, you're not gonna tell me that. No, it's just I'm choosing a different path, and this is okay. And at the end of the day, God still blesses me every day.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people I know that's in the Christian faith that you're not good people, and it shows by your behavior.
Right.
So I'm like, listen, I don't demonize what you do. Respect what I do, and you have to be strong and walk in your walk, and don't allow people to shift you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to stand alone, and it's okay to stand alone. And another thing I want to also tell you: make sure you practice self care. Take good care of your soul. You deserve to feel well. You deserve to be better. You deserve to feel lighter. And you deserve good people in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that starts with putting you at the top of your list and not allowing people to shift you and change you. But take good care of yourself and trust and believe. If you really do that and then you put your trust and your faith in the creator, you'll be fine. You'll see life is gonna change your whole mindset. You'll have people that really resonate with you who are about the same things as you, and
Mm-hmm.
life will get better. It really will.
Well, that is a good way to end this conversation because the point to this topic of spiritual awakening was that we want to share not only what our spiritual awakenings was, but what it looks like, and to not be afraid to embrace it because there's more to life than what you are being taught, and there's more to life than what is going on, and there's a purpose for why we're all here. We're all here individually. We have a individual purpose of why we're here, and I know for one, it is to experience life in its physical form, and to experience everything, emotions, as you mentioned. And I would just simply say this: an experience is not positive or negative on the surface. An experience is whatever you make it. So if you think it's positive, then it'll be positive. And if
Exactly.
you think it's negative, it's going to be negative. So you actually give every experience its meaning. So because you have that ability, then you have the ability to actually change your life.
You sure do.
So that is the alchemy of us. The beautiful Tabitha Harris. I am Osric. We are always here every Wednesday at 7 live to talk about you, to help you, not talk about you, but to talk with you, to help you become more enlightened. As you said, grind, grow, and then glow. I love that statement. I love that statement.
Mhm. Yes, God.
So, Miss Tabitha, I will see you next week, as we will all see all the
All righty.
listeners. Hey, you have a great week. Everyone listen, have a great week. Listen to what she said. We will be on TikTok. We will be on YouTube. Check us out. Until next week.
All right, y'all. Later.
Peace.